اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوسيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممحدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي، لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيحا بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونسب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب صاركم مع إمام حدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يؤتيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك سلامات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة العكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد العابدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعنة منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. Everyone together if we know that. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانه، وعمر بن سعد وشمرا، وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. Please go to sajda. We want together. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين، لك على مصابحهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات.
Let's send one more loud salawat. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome again to everyone. This is shortly going to be the night of the 2nd of Muharram and the second night of our lecture series from our esteemed scholar who's joining us. We are looking forward to commemorating these nights together, taking it as an opportunity to grow together, to develop our understanding of the Ahlul Bayt, and to hopefully develop an emotional connection that builds on what we've done in the past years and gets stronger every year, inshallah. We're going to begin, as we always do, with the recitation of the Holy Quran. I'm going to ask Hidayah Rizvi to come up and lead us with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين، وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم، وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء، والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا، بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله، والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين، ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Let's send one more loud salawat for Sister Hidayah. Before moving on, I want to take a second to again recognize the people who've sponsored our event this evening. It's Brother Abid Hussein and Brother Mehdi Hassan. We ask that everyone here recite a Surah Fatiha for their marhumeen and the marhumeen of everybody present. So before we go on with our program, I mentioned this yesterday, I'm going to try to do it early on enough where people get peer pressured when they see where we're sitting. So if the brothers could move forward, everybody else who comes in will see that and they'll come forward as well and the sisters can have more space, inshallah. Let's all come up if we can with a loud salawat. Next, we're going to have some poetry and some salams from our various participants. I'm going to invite up Sister Sakina Abbas to lead us in a poem, and we'll bring her up with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'll be reading a short poem I wrote on Muslim bin Aqil. Please recite one more salawat. Assalamu alaikum, Muslim bin Aqil. You are the messenger who brought the opportunity to walk with justice. You are the leader who taught those in Kufa what it means to be a believer and follower of God. You are the companion who ventured forth to a city of uncertainty to ensure Imam Hussein's safety. When the sun rose on a new leadership in Kufa, the days somehow grew darker. An ocean of fear flooded the hearts of the people, and the current of the flood drove them away from you, with only a few being able to swim to safety. Now in secret, the followers' whispers served as a guiding light in the fog and dust that had enveloped Kufa. But the waters of fear were neck high. A believer's son, caught in the current and afraid of the light among the fog, pulled you out of hiding into the presence of Ibn Ziyad. More and more the day's light began to fade. More and more the illuminated whispers began to silence. More and more the flood's waters rose higher. As you were martyred, witnessed by all those who betrayed you, no flood could compare to the stream of tears of your master, Imam Hussein. Although his body was not near yours when you were martyred, his soul saw everything. He sat your daughter in his lap and rested his hand on her head. She knew the way her uncle would tell children their loved one had passed, but it was far from a peaceful passing for you. She looked up at her uncle, her heart shedding tears from knowing the answer to her own question. "Oh, uncle, why do you rest your hand on my head as if I've lost my father?" Imam Hussein spoke with softness, but nothing could cushion the harsh spear of reality. "I will take care of you," he said to your daughter. Imam Hussein turned his head facing that city of uncertainty, facing Kufa, and raised his hand to you. Assalamu alaikum, Muslim bin Aqil. Salawat.
Let's send one more loud salawat for Sister Sakina. Next, we're going to have a salam by Brother Muhammad Ibrahim. We'll bring him up with a loud salawat.
Salawat. Oh, Muslim. 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 They left you all alone, even those you had known. Their hearts were made of stone. Oh, Muslim. They couldn't realize that you they agonized, that you they left to die. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. You had come all the way to make sure they don't stray, but you they did betray. Oh, Muslim. Hussein knows of your plight. He's weeping day and night, wishing you reunite. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Oh, Muslim. Like a lion you fought, the soldiers were distraught. You killed them on the spot. Oh, Muslim. How much they wounded you, but your power they knew, and how they then withdrew. O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim. How painful was your death, you gasped for every breath. They then cut off your head, O Muslim. They threw you from the roof, nobody disapproved. They all looked so amused, O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim, O Muslim. Even your two children, Muhammad Ibrahim, beheaded in a stream, O Muslim. O people of Kufa, did you not hear Zahra wailing in pain and awe, O Muslim, 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 O Muslim. Salawat.
Ahsant. Let's send one more loud salawat for Brother Muhammad. So we haven't had our esteemed scholar up yet, and we're already lagging on some energy, so let's send one more loud salawat. Before we bring up Shaykh, we wanted to encourage all of the older kids and young adults of the community in the next 10 nights to not be shy and to come up and bring anything that you feel would contribute to the remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt as we do these recitations over these nights. So whether it's a poem, a short speech, something that you've researched and learned, we have 10 nights of these remembrances, and as you saw, a lot of the brothers and sisters take their time, they do a poetry, a salam. We want all of the youth of the community to feel part of that. So ideally, boys and girls, men and women, come up 5 minutes or so, prepare something that you think can benefit the community, and don't be shy or don't feel a hesitation. Any effort that we make in the way of the Ahlul Bayt will inshallah be rewarded. So no one's expecting expertise or perfection. They just want you to do your best. Let's send one more loud salawat. So inshallah, we're going to continue with our lectures from our esteemed scholar. Yesterday, he spoke to us about the importance of having iman, but iman that isn't, as we understand it, in terms of blind faith, that has certain prerequisites and has certain things that it develops in us so that we can strengthen ourselves. And it was something that we all benefited from. We look forward to hearing more from him, and we will bring up Shaykh Azhar Shirazi with a loud salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. One more salawat, please. One more salawat, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين فاطر السماوات والأرضين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. صلوات, please. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is again an honor to be among mu'mineen as we continue our commemoration of the tragedy, martyrdom, and the sublime and profound sacrifice of Sayyid al-Shuhada Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam on the day of Ashura. Yesterday we began a discussion about the nature and reality of Iman and how the examples that we find in Karbala along with Ahlul Bayt and the teachings of the Quran give us an understanding of what is real and true faith and its value. Yesterday I made three reminders about what faith and what Iman is not. Number one is that Iman is not a type of info in the brain. Rather, it is knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is followed by a turning of your heart. When your heart turns towards that knowledge, inclines towards your understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you realize that there is a reason for the world in which we live and our own existence, that reason must be profound, must be one who has life to give and has that profound existence and life in its most absolute perfection, in order that that cause or that being bestow it to everything else. Once you know that fact, then you discover in your heart a desire to get to know that reason for why I exist and why I have been granted not many blessings, but infinite number of blessings from that profound source of my creation. The heart has to turn. There has to be a love. There has to be a desire to have what's called ma'rifah. And secondly, we reminded ourselves that Iman is not something that you can force. La ikraha fid deen. This la in the Arabic language is la allati li nafi al-jins. It's not saying you should not force faith. It's saying you cannot force faith. If you put a gun to someone's head and you say, believe, that doesn't result in belief. That's just taqiyya. Okay, I believe. You can't put a gun to someone's head and make them love you. For matters of the heart and the soul are those things that have absolute choice and freedom involved in them. And that is why we reminded ourselves of this example of the rose in the rose garden. A gardener cannot tug, pull, snip at the rose to tell it to grow faster. And in the same way, we cannot do the same to those whom we love. All we can do is do what a good gardener would do. Provide that rose or that loved one or that child a good environment. Give it sunlight, give it warmth, give it TLC. And inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that rose or that loved one or that child grows and develops what it needs to make the right choice to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why even when it comes to mu'ajizat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't force us, doesn't dazzle us into faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like a magician that tries to trick us into believing in His sleight of hands. Now, please don't misunderstand. We believe in miracles. We are Muslims. Any believer, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whoever it may be, they understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Moses the power to change the staff into a serpent. That is a mu'ajizah, and we believe in it. Or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Isa the ability to turn the dead back to life. That is a mu'ajizah, and we believe in it. The Rasulullah had many, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Had many miracles. The greatest of those miracles is the Holy Quran. It is a miracle of knowledge. It is a miracle of profound wisdom and eloquence. We believe in all of those miracles, but those miracles are not for the purpose of making you believe in God. Those miracles are, in essence, especially the miracles of the past, they are designed to give credentials and prove to an audience that this human being who claims to be a prophet really is speaking on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But miracles are not to generate iman. You have everything that you need to have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a fitrah. Your heart already inclines towards discovery of where you came from. Your heart already recognizes the need for an origin of your existence that doesn't go back to infinity. There's no tasalsul, there's no infinite regress of causes. It has to stop somewhere in an ultimate profound cause, a wajibul wujud, a necessary being. Your intellect, you have that. You spend 10, 15, 20 minutes in a room thinking by yourself or with a knowledgeable person, and you can discover everything that you need. You can look inside yourself, you can look at your families, you can look at the beautiful, profound nature around you, you can look at the stars above, and you have what you need to realize that there is a God, there is a necessary being. We have what we need. And finally, we learn that iman is not blind, especially not real iman that we find in the hearts and souls of the awliya of God. And that is why Imam Hussein, at every moment on that journey towards Kufa, landing and culminating in Karbala, he reminded his companions every step of the way that this is where this journey ends. You can turn back, you can leave. But they said, we don't want to leave, because we have ma'arifah, we have ilm, we have yaqeen, we have knowledge that to be with Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam is to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's nowhere else we rather be. Recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so we realize that Iman has its own value. It has its own worth. There is a hadith from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is what's known as a hadith Qudsi. It is given the title Kuntu Kanzan Makhfiyan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is narrated by Sunnis and Shias alike, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I was a hidden treasure. That there was a moment in existence, I don't want to say a moment in time because time is a complicated thing, but leave that alone for now. There was a moment in existence in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was alone. There was nothing else except for Him. Allah is the eternal. He is Hayyul Qayyum. He is ever living, everlasting. But in the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is one of His names which is known as that He is Kareem. He is generous. He is loving. He is kind. And so when people say, why did Allah create anything at all? Why did He make us? He didn't need us. That's absolutely true. He didn't. There's nothing you and I can do or give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He doesn't already have in full measure. But because Allah is Kareem, He wanted to share and give. And so He had wujud and existence, and so He gave existence to creation. He had hayat, He had life, and He wanted to give life to creation. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. And of course, it is not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give one gift and not give another. And so He decided that every creature on the face of this earth that has any capacity to receive a gift from me, Allah will give it to them. And so then when He created that one creation at the apex of all of this creation, which is insan, He is now looking at all of the world and existence and the universe and the stars and the galaxies and the gold and the silver and the jewels and all of these things, and He's looking to see what of these things can help this insan achieve its perfection. What can do it? What can provide that itma'anan, satisfaction, tranquility, sakina, kamal? What can do it? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at everything and realizes, of course this is not in the hadith, this is just me trying to spell it out, that there is nothing in this dunya that can help insan reach that itma'anan and that happiness and that perfection whatsoever. No material thing can give insan this. There is no gold, there's no number in your bank account, there's no Bitcoin, what do you call that stuff? Anyhow, I shouldn't speak about things I don't understand. There's nothing. There's no treasure in the world except for that one treasure. Kuntu kanzan makhfiyan. It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His remembrance and having a relationship with God that can bring that satisfaction and that itma'anan to the human soul. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. It is in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that hearts can find rest. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli. He reminds us that the dunya is like salt water. The more you drink from it, the more thirsty you get. That is the nature of the world. It can't satisfy you at all. Right? Even mountains of gold, insan will be asking for another mountain. Right? Amir al-Mu'mineen, that is why he tells us, recite salawat please. That when you read Dua Kumail, you can see that the goal of his very existence is nothing else except for the divine. Now, Ahlul Bayt and Islam, they don't demean the dunya. There's nothing wrong with the world. The world is exactly how it needs to be. It is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah doesn't make useless things. It has a role to play. But its role is not to get us to our destination. The dunya is our tool. The dunya is what we are going to use. It's not going to use us. That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, I've divorced the world 3 times. Done talaq to the dunya. This does not mean Imam Ali hates the dunya. It means he's not in love with the dunya. Do we understand? But at the end of his life, he revealed his financial ledger to show that the amount of money that Amir al-Mu'mineen had earned was perhaps more than all of the other companions and the Ahlus Saqifa combined. He worked very hard. He struggled and strived, and he was extremely wealthy. But all of that wealth would go into his pocket only to just moments later be given to those who were in need. It is said that when he was the Khalifa, when he had the custody of Baytul Mal, the only time he would spend any moments in that Baytul Mal, in the Muslim treasury, is after it was emptied, and he would do a 2 rak'ah salah in there. Grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I've gotten rid of this. That's the only way the dunya can actually help your faith, when it is used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recite salawat, please. Iman is such that even if you have nothing else, you are still rich. You're wealthy. But even if you have everything in this world, you are faqir. You are among the fuqara. Right? Those who have that worldly sense of belonging, they often feel this type of alienation, this kind of sense that there's something missing. We're very familiar with the midlife crisis. 30 years old, 40 years old, having spent how many years now sitting in cubicles or in offices or sitting hunched over a computer, pressing buttons, printing out pieces of paper with blueprints on it. Right? We sacrifice ourselves for our careers, when in reality our careers are meant to be sacrificed for the sake of God. And so if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires us to be CEOs, millionaires and billionaires, and inshallah may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of you successful, we will do that. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs us to put aside the career and not work 13, 14 hours a day, and instead spend time with our children, spend some moments with our wives and our husbands, ensuring that they are taken care of, we will do that, because we understand what is really and truly valuable. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about that nafsul mutma'inna at the end of Suratul Fajr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. O soul that is at rest. That soul that has achieved that sakina and tranquility. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then invite such a person? Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya. Fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhulil jannati. The last thing on that list, that is on the to-do list of all the fun stuff that the believer and that nafsul mutmainna is going to get, the last of them is paradise. That's at the very bottom of the list. You know, young people often ask, isn't paradise going to get boring eventually? Right? You can do whatever you want all the time. I remember reading about, I never watched the movie, but there was a story called Richie Rich. He had everything. Right? He had anything that the heart could desire except what mattered. Friends, right? Loved ones, people who wanted to spend time with him. And that's why in the religion of Islam, it's not about what you have. It's not even about where you are, but it's about who you're with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites us to Himself first. Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya. He is pleased with you and you are pleased with Him. To be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what makes that place even valuable at all. I imagine that if paradise didn't have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the awliya present there, I wonder if that maybe would be one level of hellfire. And then He says, be with the ibad, the awliya of God, the believers. That is what the nafs al-mutma'inna truly desires after it realizes that this dunya is salt water. Let's take whatever we need for the journey and begin our journey with iman towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that treasure, the goal. Iman is what we are here for. But there are, of course, levels of understanding and iman. For some people, iman is very vital and important. For others, it may not be so. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who want and desire true ma'rifah and iman, inshallah. Please say ameen. The first level of that iman and that faith amongst the various degrees is called Islam. Now this is not Islam with the capital I, it's Islam in the sense that this is submission. Submission. What does this Islam mean? The Holy Quran tells us about a group of people at the time of the Holy Prophet. They were known as the Banu Asad. They were a nomadic tribe in Arabia. They would wander here and there searching for oases and water and food. But at the time of the Prophet, the nomads of Arabia were facing a great and difficult famine. But they had heard about this new community in Yathrib, which is now called Madinatun Nabi. And we heard that it's doing really well. And so they decide that we are going to go to the man named Muhammad and we're going to join his, in their minds, club. Because we're hungry. We have nothing to eat. We have very little to drink. And so we are going to go to Prophet and we're going to tell him, Amanna. The Quran enshrines this conversation that they had with Rasulullah in Suratul Hujarat. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قَالَتِ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا. The desert nomads, they come to you and they say, we believe. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rasulullah, stop. Wait for me to tell you what I wish for you to say to them. قُل, say, لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا. Say to them, I'm sorry, but you do not have iman. You don't. But say instead that you have submitted. You have decided to bind yourself to the Sharia and this Prophet. You've decided to submit yourself. But don't say you have iman. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Because iman has not entered into your hearts. The reason why you came to the Prophet is because you wanted to be first-class citizens in his new happening club. Because you were like a merchant, you were like a capitalist. Are we capitalists here or socialists? I'm not sure. Right? Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala. It's okay, be whatever you want to be, but not with your religion. Okay? They came to the Prophet basically wanting to get something out of this religion that would benefit their worldly and material life. Right? But this is treating Islam and Iman not with its value that it truly has, but it is treating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet like a vending machine. There are narrations that say that the chief of Banu Asad said that we will go to the Prophet, and if in his religion we accept it, once we accept it, if we are able to eat and become wealthy and well off, then we know that we've made the right decision. But if we remain poor and have a difficult time feeding ourselves, that we will know that the religion of Muhammad has no value at all. This is nothing more than just submission because you want something out of that. In history, in the 1600s, there was a famous mathematician by the name of Blaise Pascal. Do you know his famous idea? Pascal's wager, right? In which he formulates this idea that says, listen, if you believe in God and it turns out He doesn't exist, then no big deal. You just fade into nothingness. But if He is there, then you have a really good eternal life ahead of you, inshallah. Well, he was Christian, he didn't say inshallah, but he said, God willing. But if you don't believe and there is a God, then you are possibly in big trouble. Blaise Pascal actually didn't know about the difference between Jahil Qasil and Jahil Muqassir. We'll talk about that next time. But you might be in trouble. So you might as well believe, right? Make the good decision, right? Make that good wager. Where do you do wagers in America? Las Vegas. Right? That's where you wager, you make bets. That is this a good probability for me? Right? This is how some people think about religion. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, 900 years, recite salawat please. 900 years before Pascal, he also formulated a similar idea, and he also articulated why this was not the most profound way of thinking about faith. It's just a smart decision. It's a good idea. But then the second level is Iman proper. Iman is when you start realizing that my heart longs for and yearns for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I start realizing that I am being drowned in the blessings of God. This is what is known as shukr al-mun'im. When someone gives you a gift, even the smallest child understands that we should say thank you. We should be grateful. We should have gratitude. And just imagine someone who has given you existence, someone who gives you so many blessings. The Quran says, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you were to try and count the blessings of God, you would fail to be able to enumerate them. Try it. Make a list one day of all the blessings in your life. If you don't fall asleep first, you will start realizing that that list will never end. Think about what it takes to even blink a single blink of the eye or take a single breath of air. How many, I read that we have 30 trillion cells in the human body. 30 trillion in one single body. That somehow they work together in harmony to ensure, and if there are any doctors in the room or people who know human anatomy, they can tell you better than I can tell you what it takes to even do the simplest of tasks. That is why Rasulullah, he says, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you to take a bite from a loaf of bread. Ask Allah to help you. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to facilitate your ability to tie your shoelaces. Allah, what do you mean? Rasulullah, what are you talking about? I thought, it's very easy. Even my small little 4-year-old daughter can do this. But if you had real ma'rifah and understanding, you would understand how many infinite numbers of factors it takes to even do something as simple as this. Right? And then just imagine all of the ecological factors around us, the air that we breathe, the sun that shines on us, the fact that these factors are fine-tuned for allowing the existence of life. And how the laws of physics, we'll briefly talk about this in another lecture, that it astounds even the most atheistic of individuals. You start realizing that I have a lot to be grateful for. I want to better understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You start realizing the meaningfulness of prayer. Prayer no longer becomes taklif and a burden, but it becomes a conversation. That one day, someday, we can have our own Mi'raj, like Rasulullah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whispered beautiful and profound words of companionship with the Lord Almighty alongside the servant Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Recite salawat, please. There's a lot more to say about Iman, but we'll move on to the third and final level, which is a destination in itself. And that is known as Rida. Rida means contentment, or maybe you could say happiness. But it is not happiness that comes for 10 minutes after you buy a video game, or for 30 minutes after you eat the best steak of your life. And then of course, you're full, you're sleepy, you're hungry again. Right? Or if you eat too much sushi, you're like, you know what, I'm not eating that for another month. Right? We get tired of the things of this dunya. We grow bored of them. But rida is a type of contentment in which we no longer think about our own shahawats. All we can think of is the desires and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My will is simply, what does God want from me? My desire and my will is to simply do what the mashiyah and the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls me to. This is a state of existence and being that the Urafa called fana. You are melting in and annihilating in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Imagine a candle that is lit in a dark room. It will fill the room with its light. But those with ma'arifah understand that our existence is not like a candle in a dark room. Our existence is a candle in the middle of a field where the sun is shining bright. It's even hard to tell, is this candle even letting out any light or not? We realize we are nothing. We are truly, existentially, actually fuqara ilallahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. I, mashallah, get top honors at any Ivy League or fancy college and university. I have studied for hours and hours on end. But because I have reached this state of rida, I realize that whatever number of hours and effort I've put in to reach this place, it is virtually zero. It is negligent. It's negligible in comparison to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done to get me there. Yeah, I opened up some books and I read some words, but look what my parents did to sacrifice day in and day out for me. Look what my community has done to give me confidence in myself. Look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done to provide the infinite number of factors to allow me to be here today. You know this mistake that sometimes we immigrants make? Most of us are immigrants in this room. Some are indigenous. But we say, you know, I made it. I worked hard. Why can't they do it? Right? This way of talking sounds a lot like Qarun, doesn't it? That this is because of my efforts, my knowledge that is with me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so annoyed with this way of thinking. He swallowed Qarun and he swallowed his riches into the ground. Right? We think too much of ourselves. Now, you are deserving of your accolades, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make everyone in this room successful, inshallah, wealthy, well off, independent, so that you can serve your families, your communities, inshallah. Please say Ameen. But, however, all of this is nothing compared to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for us. If you look at the story of Ibrahim and Ismail, this is what the story is trying to teach us. Nabi Ibrahim, he comes to his son and he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya bunayya, inni ara fil manam, anni adbahuka, fanzur madha tara. Oh my son, I see in my vision. And remember, the visions of the prophets of God, they are not scattered thoughts like ours. They are communication from the higher realms of the malakut and the jabarut. I see that I am to sacrifice you. What do you think of this? Fanzur madha tara. This is how the awliya speak to one another. They don't have to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. God said so. They just have to say, Allah said this. What do you think, my son? Right? This is a very important misunderstanding that the Quran is clarifying. Because other religious traditions also have the same story with some minor differences. But there's one major difference. That is why some other traditions say that this was known as the binding of Isaac. You know what's called the binding of Ishaq? They believe it wasn't Ismail, but it was Ishaq who was sacrificed. Why do they call it the binding of Ishaq? Because Abraham had to trick his son and tie up his son so that he could sacrifice his son per the commandment of God. But this is not the awliya. What does Ismail say? Ya abati if'al ma tu'mar. Oh my father, do as you've been commanded. Satajiduni inshallah min as-sabirin. You will find me among those who are patient. And then of course, he, per the commandment of God, takes that knife to the throat of his son because he has trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah would never tell me, even though I can't see it now, no hukam of God would ever lead me to do evil or wrong or injustice. That Allah has a plan, that there is a reason why I'm being commanded this, and I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, as you know, the son Ismail was changed into a ram or a sheep. Right? This is trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, it's important that I clarify something. This level of rida in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests these beloved ones to Him in this way is a unique maqam that is reserved for those who are truly deserving. And in this case, these types of sacrifices and commandments that God gives such people, they are the complete, unique preserve of only the awliya of God, those in direct communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the Prophet of God, Ibrahim, is being commanded to smash idols or sacrifice his son in this way, or when Rasulullah walks into Makkah and goes to the Kaaba and cleans out the house of God from these asnam and these idols, this is after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly commands these great prophets of God. The Quran says, Tilka hujjatuna ataynaha Ibrahim ala qawmihi. This was a particular authority that we gave Ibrahim, or that we gave Rasulullah. There are some unfortunate individuals, rulers and presidents in history who invaded countries and committed great atrocities after claiming that God spoke to them and told them to do this. Right? At best, this is something that needs psychiatric attention. And at worst, this is hubris, this is arrogance, takabbur, that they imagine that they have a special relationship with God, that God talks to me. Who am I to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to me directly? I am nobody. And so we must not misunderstand that these individuals, they are in a special position. And so with you and I today, we have not been given such an authority. In fact, the Quran tells us, do not even curse, do not do sub of those whom they worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our job today is tolerance, understanding, respect, building bridges with others. And let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those who are at that level deal with those other issues. But coming back to our three levels, this is why Amir al-Mu'mineen, when understanding the difference between Islam and Iman and Rida, he says that there are some who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of fear. These are the abid, these are the slaves who worship God because they are scared of being punished, because they are scared of hellfire. And then there are those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of want. They want paradise, they want stuff. This is the worship of the merchants, of the tujjar who treat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like that vending machine. I'm going to push a few buttons, I'm going to bow a few times, and then maybe inshallah I'll get what I want. Sometimes we hear this, right? We recite Ziyarat Ashura because we heard we'll get some hajat needed, and with all due respect, that's a level of faith. But it cannot end there. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, and then there are those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He deserves it, because of love. This is the worship of the ahrar. These are those who are truly free and they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of that wilaya, because of that love, because they want to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me finish describing this final level of faith of rida with a story, but please send the loudest and proudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The aristocrats and the leaders of the Quraysh, they had this system of shirk. They had these idols that were very lucrative. They filled their bank accounts quite a bit because they were used to, people would come and they would put money in front of these idols and they would say, "Oh Hubal, oh Manat, please free me out of slavery." Or please give me good crop yield this year. Right? And so it was very important to the Quraysh that this system not be touched, because this is where their power came from, wealth, status. And so when the Rasulullah says we need to stop this, we need to put an end to this, these are pieces of wood, these are stones that have been carved into images. It was important to them that they put an end to the troubling, problematic behavior of Muhammad. We heard yesterday that they first mocked the Prophet, it didn't work. And then they tried to bribe the Prophet. And he says, if you put the sun and the moon in my hands, I will not end my mission for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they tried to boycott him, the Hisar of Banu Hashim. And after 3 years of great suffering, they saw that he was unmoved, unshaken. In fact, فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانٌ وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. This only increased the faith of the Banu Hashim. They relied more so on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now that Abu Talib has passed away, they realize that now it is time for us to end everything. Put an end to Muhammad. But none of them have the audacity to try and do the deed themselves. And so they have a council in which they decide everyone from our tribe is going to have a share in this murder of Muhammad. They elect one representative from every tribe of the Quraysh. And now Rasulullah is in his chamber, and suddenly Jibreel comes to him. And of course, the first thing that Rasulullah does after Jibreel leaves is he calls Amir al-Mu'mineen to his chamber. Amir al-Mu'mineen rushes in, بِخِدْمَتِكُمْ ya Rasulullah. What can I do to serve you? Rasulullah says, "Oh Ali, outside of our home," now remember, Amir al-Mu'mineen lived with the Prophet. He was raised by Rasulullah from the very early days of his life. Rasulullah, he fed Amir al-Mu'mineen with his own hands. Today we feel like parenthood and taking care of children is a burden. Rasulullah was grateful to do this for Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, "Oh Ali, outside of our home are a number of assassins. Right now, in the darkness of the night, and they have all decided to try and put out the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But oh Ali, Jibreel has told me to suggest to you to sleep in my bed tonight and I will sneak out the back of our home." This is how the awliya speak to one another again. Rasulullah doesn't command and demand Imam Ali. Imam Ali only asks one question. He says, "Ya Rasulullah, if I sleep on your bed tonight, if I don your kisa, if I put my head upon your pillow, will you be safe? Aw taslam ya Rasulullah? This is the only question that he has to ask his beloved messenger. And Rasulullah says, "Oh Ali, I do not know about you, but I know that I will be safe. I will live to see another day." How would you react if someone asks you to lay your head down so that you can die for me? Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the narration, it is said that he performs sajda to shukr. He sees this as tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Finally, I can give my life for my beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Finally, recite salawat please. Look and see how these two brothers, they embrace one another. They are both weeping tears. Rasulullah, he says, "Oh Ali, there are some who have been true to their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." It is said that Rasulullah, he somehow, either through a mu'jaza or through the ghafla of these assassins, he leaves his home and he heads towards the city of Medina. This is known as Laylatul Mabit or Laylatul Hijrah, the night of migration. And now Amir al-Mu'mineen is sleeping on the bed. One of the assassins would peek into the window and throw rocks inside to see if anything stirs. And they see, okay, yes, Muhammad is still there. And so as 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. is coming, they are waiting for the right opportunity to strike and to end the life of whom they believe is Muhammad. Understand that Amir al-Mu'mineen was not one to sleep throughout the night. He was familiar with Salatul Layl, Tahajjud, Dua, Zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he says that on that night he slept the entirety of the night. He says that I did not sleep better than I have ever slept than I did that night on the bed of Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. The assassins of Quraysh rush in and they remove the cloak and the kisa, and they see that Amir al-Mu'mineen is there. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, he was the famous arif of the Ahlus Sunnah. In Ihya Ulumuddin, one of his famous books, he narrates this hadith in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Jibreel and Mikael to his presence. Allah says, "I have created you, O archangels of mine, as brothers. But which of you brothers would like to give your life so that the other may live a little bit longer?" So Jibreel and Mikael, these great archangels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they say, "Ya Allah, we have been created to serve you. And so we do not wish to die. We wish to serve you for eternity. We don't want to give up our lives." And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then turns their attention to Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he says that look and see the difference between you and your worship and the worship of my beloved one Ali ibn Abi Talib. Look at these brothers, how they give each other for one another. This is ibadah. Oh Mikael, go down and protect my servant Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. That is why Amir al-Mu'mineen that day was not a martyr, because angels of God stayed the blades and the arrows of the Quraysh. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Rida, and that understanding that my will is only the will of God. Whatever Allah wishes of me, that's what I want. That's what I need. The one speaking to you now is how many miles and miles and miles away from that destination. But when you come to Karbala, you find every single one of these men, women and children, they exemplify this iman and this rida in everything that they do and in the entirety of their lives. We come now to a day which the ulama describe as an Ashura before the day of Ashura. Why was it called this? Because Imam Hussein, he lost someone very precious to himself. It is said that when Imam Hussein received those 12,000 letters, from the people of Kufa, he decided that he's going to go. But there were some who said, "Oh Hussein, don't go. Because I was there when the people of Kufa allowed our father to be martyred in their presence. I was there when Hassan al-Mujtaba, our brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, he says our brother was betrayed by these very same people. So, oh Hussein, my brother, don't go to Kufa because I'm afraid that they're going to do the same thing to you as well." The Imam says, "My brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, I know the people of Kufa better than you know the people of Kufa. But what will an Imam do when he is called by his people? Is he going to turn his back on them? Is he going to tell them that yes, Islam has been orphaned, that their Imam is not among them? No, I'm going to go because I'm not going for loyalty. I am going because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a destiny for me." Imam Hussein did not give up on the people of Kufa despite them giving up on him. In fact, he was so not giving up on the people of Kufa that he sent them someone that was so beloved to him that he says, "Inni ba'ithun ilaykum." I am sending to you Akhi, my brother, wabnu ammi wa thiqati min ahl bayti, among the most trustworthy members of my family, Muslim ibn Aqil, my Safir, is coming to you, O people of Kufa. It is said that when Muslim arrived in Kufa, he was greeted and he was pledged to by 18,000. Some narrations say 20,000. Some narrations say 30,000 Kufans. They gave their bay'ah to Muslim ibn Aqil in support of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. But it was only a few moments later that Ibn Ziyad now enters into the city with his soldiers, with his goons. And they begin their intimidation tactics. They say that anyone who supports the family of the Prophet, they will be facing the dungeons, or they will be martyred and they will be killed. And so come now to that moment in which Muslim is leading Maghrib prayers in the Masjid of Kufa. There must have been thousands of people in the Masjid of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But Maghrib is finished, Taqibat begins, and then Isha is prayed, and then at the end, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Muslim looks behind him, and there's no one there to support the ambassador of Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Muslim does not even see his children behind him. Now see the ambassador of Hussein now wandering the streets of Amir al-Mu'mineen city, the city of Kufa, where Amir al-Mu'mineen established this as his capital. His nephew does not know where he's going to eat. His nephew does not know where he's going to drink. He knocks on the doors only to be ignored. The doors are slammed on his face. And so now Muslim, he goes and he stops at the porch of an elderly woman by the name of Taw'a. Taw'a cracks open the door and says, "Oh man, do you not know that Ibn Ziyad has established a curfew in this city? These are dangerous times. Do you not know what might happen to you if you are caught in this manner?" Muslim looks at Taw'a and he says, "What does one do who has no family, no loved ones, no one to support him, no one to even offer a single drop of water?" Something stirs in Taw'a. She says, "Oh man, what is your name? Who are you?" Now Muslim, he stands with jalal, with dignity, with izzah. He says not his name. He only says, "Ana Safirul Hussein." I am the ambassador of the grandson of the Prophet. Taw'a swings open the door and she says, "You are amongst the family of the Prophet. I used to be a servant in the household of the Ahlul Bayt. Come quickly." But how can it be that one of the children of Rasulullah is in the city of Amir al-Mu'mineen and has no patron, has no helper? It is said that Taw'a offers everything to Muslim on that night. Offers food, offers drink, offers every accommodation that she could give him. But she narrates that he did not take a single bite of that food. He did not even take a sip of that water. And so she goes to him and says, "Oh Muslim ibn Aqil, have my accommodations not been worthy of the family of the Prophet? Tell me, and I will fix whatever neglect that I have failed you in." Muslim says, "Oh Taw'a, your accommodations, your food, your hospitality has been more than enough. But when I drifted off to sleep, I saw my uncle Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, 'Tonight, oh Muslim, you are going to be a guest of Taw'a, but tomorrow you are going to be a guest of Ali.'" It is said that as these two are speaking with one another, they hear the footsteps of a garrison of a large number of soldiers. It is said that it was the son of Taw'a who goes and betrays the family of the Prophet. Now Ibn Ziyad, his soldiers are now outside. And so the Taw'a, she begins quickly looking for a place for Muslim to hide. But Muslim has already donned his armor. He is holding his sword in his hand. He says, "Oh Taw'a, know that I am the Safir of Hussein. How can I allow my host to be harmed in any way?" He goes out to meet 70 soldiers of Ibn Ziyad. Some say it was 300. He does battle with soldiers in the alleyways of Kufa. Some of those soldiers are on the rooftops throwing stones and arrows from a distance. These cowards are afraid of facing Muslim, one of the children of Ali Muhammad, face to face. But alas, Muslim is able to survive this onslaught. And so the soldiers of Ibn Ziyad, they offer aman, they offer peace to Muslim. They promise that if you stop this fighting now, we promise you an audience with Ibn Ziyad. Muslim ibn Aqil is not afraid of martyrdom, brothers and sisters, but he remembers that I have asked Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam to come to this city which is now against him. I must now do something. This is the only opportunity that he has. The soldiers take Muslim to Darul Imara. They reach the gate, and at the gate there is a jug of water. He says, "Oh, army and soldiers of Ibn Ziyad, will you allow me one drink of water?" He takes that cup of water to his lips, and the blood falls into this cup, and now this water is mutanajjis. He throws that water away, and he takes another cup only for the blood to fall again into this cup. He does it a third time, and then he says, "Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must not have it in my qadr to drink water on this day." Brothers and sisters, perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that although Muslim will not die in Karbala, Allah wishes to allow the maqam and the martyrdom of Muslim to be like the martyrdom of the ashab of Karbala. It is said now that Ibn Ziyad is now facing Muslim directly. Muslim, he speaks with so much waqar, so much dignity. Muslim says, "Oh Ibn Ziyad, your soldiers offered me aman. I do not want your safe passage. All I wish for you to give me is that you allow me to send a message to someone very beloved to me." Ibn Ziyad says, "Oh Muslim, we know who you are. We know that you are the ambassador of Hussein. Know that Hussein, when he is on his way, he will meet the same fate that you are about to meet." He orders Muslim ibn Aqil to the rooftop of Darul Imara. They raise a sword above the neck of Muslim. Before that sword comes down upon the neck of Muslim ibn Aqil, he calls out, "As-salamu alayka, Ya Aba Abdullah." It comes down upon the neck of Muslim. They throw the body off of Darul Imara. They tie the body of Muslim to horses, and now he's being dragged through the alleyways of Kufa. Suddenly, many miles away, Imam Hussein suddenly stands up from his place. He recites, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." Lady Zainab says, "Oh Hussein, what has happened? Why are you reciting these words of the return of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?" Imam Hussein says, "Where is the daughter of Muslim? Bring the daughter of Muslim to me." Imam Hussein comes now to Hamida bint Muslim. He places this young daughter of Muslim in his lap. He lovingly caresses the head of this young daughter of Muslim. Now remember, the daughter of Muslim, Hamida, is one of the children of the Ahl al-Bayt. She is very intelligent. She says, "Oh my uncle, has something happened to my father?" Imam Hussein, he says, how do you know something has happened to your father? Oh, my beloved daughter. She says that the way you are treating me so lovingly is the same way I used to see you treat the orphans of the city of Medina. Imam Hussein says, no, Hamida, do not say that you are yatim. Do not say that you do not have a father. For today it will be Hussein who will be your father. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayyi munqalibin yanqalibun. Matime Hussein, ya Hussein.
Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. Oh Zainab, why do you cry? Abba should be by your side. I told him to protect you. He should never have left you. Oh Zainab, why do you cry? Abba should be by your side. I told him to protect you. He should never have left you. I told him to protect you. He should never have left you. I told him to protect you. He should never have left you. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. I don't have any other. No light without al-qamar. Oh al-Abbas, when he left, it was to protect me, Hussein and all the children, from the thirst we were feeling. Oh al-Abbas, when he left, it was to protect me, Hussein and all the children, from the thirst we were feeling. He wouldn't leave me lonely unless he had a reason. He wouldn't leave me lonely unless he had a reason. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other.
no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. Oh Zainab, why do you cry? Abba should be by your side. I told him to protect you, he should never have left you. Oh, when he left you, did he send any farewells for me? I had no chance to see him before he went to face them. Yes, he left salams for you, left all of his love for you. He left with pride and honor, he went to bring us water. He left with pride and honor, he went to bring us water. He left with pride and honor, he went to bring us water. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. Oh Zainab, why do you cry? Abba should be by your side. I told him to protect you, he should never have left you. Oh Zainab, why do you cry? Abba should be by your side. I told him to protect you, for us your brother left you. I told him to protect you, for us your brother left you. I told him to protect you, for us your brother left you. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, without al-qamar. Zainab, where is your brother? I can't find my beloved. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. I don't have any other, without al-qamar. I don't have any other, no light without al-qamar. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام ولك السلام وإليك يعود السلام. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الأئمة الهادين المهديين. السلام على جميع أنبياء الله ورسله وملائكته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام على علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام على الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين. السلام على الحسين جميعا وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام على محمد بن علي باقر علم النبيين. السلام على جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام على موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام على علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام على محمد بن علي الجواد. السلام على علي بن محمد الهادي. السلام على الحسن بن علي الزكي العسكري. السلام على الحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakumullah for joining the English program. Inshallah, we will begin the prayer of Maghrib in the Green Hall. Adhan will be in about 2 minutes, and then followed by the Urdu